Yeah.
Excellent. Welcome everyone then to the main Token Armor on this rainy Wednesday, 21st of February. Today we're going to be talking to Alvara Protocol, and it should be quite an exciting armor. I am Fried Goat, the co-host today, and obviously we have the main man, Scott Crypto Warrior. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate. Feeling a bit under the weather today, actually, but you got to carry on, haven't you? But yeah,
Yeah, you got to.
I'm really excited about this one. I think it's Dominic. He's going to be speaking today.
It is. Thanks for having me.
How you doing, mate?
Yeah, all good, thanks. It's not much better down south than it is up where you are.
Yeah, it's really horrible and windy here today, but can't complain. It's only going to get better. But yeah, man, it's really, really a pleasure to have you. Do you want to just give a brief introduction of yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So, background-wise, before crypto, I was in stockbroking, derivatives trader, and then I was in wealth management at St James's Place, which is a FTSE 100 wealth manager here in the UK, for those who aren't familiar. And then I worked in traditional venture capital, and I set up my first business in the blockchain space June 2021, and launched my first token in August of 2021, and started working on Alvara with my co-founder Callum, who's probably in the audience, or he is the Alvara logo that you can see listening in. I think we started speaking about it probably from like November 2021, maybe even early Jan. So it's been a long time in the making. So yeah, not my first rodeo. So I've experienced the ups, downs, good, the bad, and the ugly. Plenty of ugly of the crypto market and cycles. So yeah, got a lot of connections that I can utilize, and a lot of experience what it's like running a project.
Yeah, I can see that, mate. And obviously, you're working with Tencent, and altcoin daily, etc. So, obviously you've got the connections in the space. So yeah, we're going to obviously touch on the project and what's happening with the launch pad and launching and stuff like that. So first of all, what gives you like the idea of this? It's like a basket token, isn't it? Do you want to explain it?
Yeah, so there's two parts to it. Alvara is the protocol that is built around what was called the ERC BTS, which stood for Basket Token Standard. However, that is now officially the ERC 7621. So it has been approved approved as in given and issued its number. It takes I think the ERC20 took 2 years to become a token standard, and the ERC 6551 isn't even approved yet, but it's spoken about by Vitalik and everyone already. So yeah, that is numbers issued now, and our protocol is basically facilitating the mass adoption. And the job of the 7621 is to basically decentralize asset and fund management, bring it on chain, and provide a wrapper in order to do so. So anything that can be tokenized and put into a ERC20 can be put into the ERC 7621. And it also issues out LP tokens, like how when you contribute to a Uniswap pool, UniV2, for example, you get LP tokens. The 7621 also issues back those LP tokens, which means that you can scale your business, your fund infinitely. You can build staking, governance, you can add liquidity, you can innovate and create whatever you want on top of any successful basket of tokens. So you as a individual and as a manager, if you are successful, then you can actually bring a whole business to life through the platform. And you can even sell rights to the business's revenue on our marketplace as well. So the scalability and the multiple layers that can form from the protocol is just another level compared to what else there is out there in the market, and the scope and sector we're focusing on.
Yeah, that sounds really proper technical, to be honest. Do you want to try and break it down, like just in a bit more simple terms? For like, not everyone's got like technical minded. So basically, people can wrap different tokens together. You're saying?
Yeah, essentially the basket token standard sort of the BTS we're calling it sort of does what it says on the tin. In that anybody can come onto the Alvara protocol, and we have a factory contract which essentially allows anybody to mint a basket token standard to their wallet and manage that like a portfolio of tokens. So anyone can mint one of these baskets, and then that pulls onto a leaderboard like CoinMarketCap, like CoinGecko, where anyone else can contribute to your basket of tokens.
No
You,
way. That's really clever.
yeah, so
Really clever.
it's fully decentralized and fully like DeFi in the fact that if you mint a main basket, that itself is minted through the factory contract, and that gives you basically your own ERC 7621, and anybody else can contribute Ethereum to your basket. When I contribute, you earn 1% per year of all of the assets within that. So effectively, you're earning an annual management charge. And I get, in return for contributing, issued the main ERC20 LP token, which is issued automatically whenever anybody contributes. And so, because obviously every single contributor has a unique ERC20 LP token that represents their part of your BTS, it means that you can build and scale a whole protocol around your basket of tokens, because you know exactly who the holders are, because all of them have the ERC20 LP token as well. So you can build governance in a DAO. You can build, staking for your BTS's LP token. You can build derivatives, lending strategies, anything that can be innovated on top of a normal ERC20 token. You can innovate around your BTS's LP token. And so this is where it is complicated, because it's not just a whole new DeFi protocol, which are complicated enough. It's also a whole new DeFi protocol built around a whole new token standard, which was only given a number like 2 days ago. So it's actually, I think about a week ago, but still, it's obviously very new. But essentially, it opens up the ability for thousands or tens of thousands of individual sub protocols, all to be built on top of the infrastructure that Alvara is providing, because anybody who is successful can build on top of their BTS. And that could be from just dumb luck, where they happen to build up AUM, because assets under management, because they have the best performance. Or it could be that they approach it with an actual website, business plan, tell people why they should get contributors, why people should be giving them Ethereum. So people can mint a whole business to their wallet, manage it on the protocol, and they can even sell the rights to the revenue, the 1%, at the end of it. So you can have a full business life cycle and a full protocol life cycle all within the Alvara protocol, which in itself can allow for anybody in one click to become, an on-chain fund manager.
Yeah, and like you said, there'll be like leaderboards. So obviously, if people haven't really got a clue about crypto, etc., they could just invest into your protocol if you're successful and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. So at present, the functionality will be, with Ethereum, but there's no reason why we can't add like even a fiat on ramp, so that people can genuinely, we can create a mechanism for people to, use a card to purchase Ethereum, and they don't need to know what's going on in the back end. They just know that they put in their card details, and then that contributes, $500 to a basket, in reality, we can code that in so that the $500 is then swapped into ETH, and then the ETH is contributed to the basket. But a normie and non-crypto person doesn't need to know that, because it's all just the same thing, isn't it? Ethereum going in or actual fiat. So we can become, if we hit all of our ambitions and all of our goals, there's no reason why Alvara can't be like an on-chain Fidelity with access to hundreds of thousands of funds, investment vehicles, all in a completely decentralized manner, because we are just this bottom layer. We are not doing anything different to what, like, it's the approach that we're taking is like the Uniswap and Uniswap Labs approach, because it's important that we are this very, very bottom layer of decentralized infrastructure, because where our competitors stumble is that they try too hard to control decentralization by doing stuff like deciding who can or can't manage a vote or a fund or whatever they want to call it. But the problem with that is that you then end up doing the job of the regulator, which is deciding who can or can't manage funds. And it's important to stay away from that, because the competitors are doing it for the right reason. They don't want bad actors to, take advantage of people, which is in itself admirable and the right reasons. However, by managing that micro, they expose themselves to macro headwinds from regulators, because you have to be decentralized. It's like Uniswap. The SEC, they don't go after Uniswap, but they certainly go after all of the tokens that are listing on it. Because they don't go after Uniswap because Uniswap is decentralized. They could go after it, but it wouldn't do anything because it's all renounced and on chain. And it's very important for us that by allowing anybody to come on and mint a BTS, and not getting in the way, our job is to give people the warnings. Like, if somebody has full discretionary permissions, and by that I mean that they can buy and sell whatever they please, and they haven't chosen to give information about themselves, whether that's KYC or whether that's just connecting a Twitter, we allow anyone to mint it. We give risk warnings where obviously it could be someone who's trying to use this for their own benefit, like pump and dump like a token with.
Yeah, like scammers do in every project anyway. So I totally understand. I totally understand what you mean. And as long as, like Uniswap says, when you click on there, end of the day, it warns you, doesn't it? End of the day, if people don't want to accept the warning, then that's up to them, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's important that we do that, because that is the difference in the regulator's eyes of what is a security and what is like decentralized infrastructure, is the fact that if we are the Alvara Foundation, and we are looking after the Alvara network and platform, as developers, just like how Bitcoin is looked after by Bitcoin developers, but that's not the Bitcoin team. So that's the exact and that in itself, even though it means that, like, yes, if somebody is stupid enough to, after getting told something looks like dodgy, to go ahead anyway, we protect everybody by not trying to protect every individual outcome, every individual person that might be like clicking something wrong or dodgy, because at the end of the day, one person being stupid enough to click past a massive risk warning saying something could happen and then having it happening, that's not enough of a reason for us to put everyone at risk by being too centralized and making it a target.
Well, yeah, exactly. End of the day, the whole reason of crypto is decentralization. So if you're if you're making it so people can't do something, then it's centralized at the end of the day. So, but I like this. And at the end of the day, in my opinion, everyone should use their own brains to do their own research on anything they invest in anyway. So, like you say, as long as you give formal warning, then there's not much more you can do, because if people want to invest in a fund, they should research who the fund belongs to and stuff anyway. So I can't imagine people just jumping into anyone's funds. Do you know what I mean?
Well, you'd be surprised. I mean, I see it like it's incredible crypto. It's like with this new token standard. Um, you know, I saw someone say like, oh, well, they didn't invent this token standard because they didn't. Well, I didn't hand code it, and it's like, wow, I can't believe that Elon Musk builds his own spaceships. What a legend! Or I can't believe that Apple handcrafts its iPhones and they don't get it produced in a factory. Or it's like crypto is so mental. Like, so you can't invent things in crypto unless you hand code it yourself now. Like, as in, like, you do have to do every job, otherwise it's not yours. It's like insane how you would think that logic and reason, would be enough, but you'd be surprised. People
But
will get
also
told.
on the internet as well. I mean, that's where you gotta just ignore a lot of the criticism and stuff.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, yeah, the more the less legitimate and the more like mental the criticism, the easier it is, because sometimes you think like, what, like how? But yeah, it's like everyone's a communist in crypto, free markets, but not for anyone else.
I'm
Yeah.
intrigued actually by this basket token. Is it something that you basically anyone can create one if they wanted to?
Yeah, so by definition, there's a few parts to a token standard. Number one is, getting the number and submitting for review, and the other part obviously is getting mass adoption, and one sort of leads the other, because at the end of the day, you can get a number, but if nobody uses it, it's not really a token standard. But at the same time, if you didn't have a number but everyone uses it, then it can become one by definition, because one can lead the other. And so it's like this ERC 404. They just made that up and plucked it out of thin air, which I'm
Oh
just.
mate, that's making the gas fees go crazy.
Well, yeah, and also it's like, there's only one reason why you wouldn't submit for an official one, and that's that there's something in there that means that you're not confident that you'll get it. Like, something is obviously, otherwise why would you not? It's, if we've managed to submit and get a number, then we are confident that what we've created is and can be used by everyone and flexible enough to be a token standard. It's not going to be something that we think is just a gimmick and a fad. But obviously this other one, 404, may not have that same confidence, because obviously if you're submitting something, you're opening it up to the whole Ethereum Foundation and developers to look through it and say, this is good, this is bad. And so it's a testament to our confidence, the fact that we've gone ahead, and actually submitted it, because, we're actually putting our money where our mouth is, rather than just like leaning on it and calling it a token standard, just for the hype, when in reality, it may not be, but ours has actually got the official number, rather than, we didn't pick the 7621, the 7621 picked us.
I'm also
That's really impressive. How you
yeah.
actually got it.
I was going to say, I'm also interested to know. Obviously, when you mint these basket tokens, and say you have, hundreds of thousands in Ethereum, another token, and that's going to be within, this basket token system. Does that, what is going to affect obviously the price of these tokens? Is it mainly, does it depend on what is within there, or not?
Well, it depends on how people are. So there's two ways really. It depends on, number one is the price of the basket. If the LP tokens, that the ERC20s, which are issued when people contribute, if nobody adds liquidity to them, then the basket, it has everything within it is 100% collateralized. So it's not a representation. So if you put one Ethereum into a basket which has 50% sand and 50% mana, then that one Ethereum is swapped into 50% sand and 50% mana within and when it goes into that basket. So that is priced as, you know, the actual assets within it. What is the difference is that when you add liquidity to the representation tokens, that ERC20 LP tokens that are unique to every basket, obviously you are giving the market the permission to price. So that's the only time that the price will be different, is the fact that when you add liquidity, you now have not just the collateralized one-for-one backed BTS, which obviously will always be a consistent price because it's represented by its assets within it. You know, if it's got 50% mana and 50% sand and 100 ETH has been contributed to it, then you would expect that you have 100 ETH worth of sand and mana. Obviously, it depends on the performance of sand and mana as to whether, you know, it's changed within that time period, but people will always get out the representative amount of what they put in. And so when you add liquidity, though, to the ERC20 LP tokens, then you open up the possibility for price discovery and price differences. In that, if you buy the ERC20 LP tokens cheaper than the assets under management of the basket, then you can arbitrage by using those LP tokens to withdraw more Ethereum from the basket than you put in
I see.
originally. And vice versa, it works the other way. And so this is the really, really bullish part, is that the more people add liquidity, the more arbitrage opportunities there are. And, you know, whether it's bots or whether it's humans coming in and out, it doesn't matter because we're still earning 0.5% in, 0.5% out, which obviously goes to buy back and burn the token and goes to stakers. So, you know, those bots arbitraging not only keeps consistent price levels and earns fees for the on platform decks, the Hivex, as well as the in and out charges, and all of that is bullish for stakers, and all of that is bullish for buyback and burns and for revenue. So those aspects aren't even, you know, necessarily thought of by people when they're looking at the protocol, but all of that goes into revenue because it doesn't matter if it's a
because
human or a bot.
I totally understand now. I totally understand. And obviously, we haven't really touched on this bit yet, but because obviously that's what's going to drive the revenue share into your protocol. Well, by people creating these baskets and all these trading of them, is that how you generate your revenue for like the you just said buyback and burns and stuff?
Yeah, so there's a few ways that we create revenue. Number one is I guess it depends on so at first there's no fee for minting a basket from the factory contract. So reason why is because we want to incentivize as many people to populate the platform as possible, because the more that's on there the better. At some point where, you know, we've got a very, very wide selection, then we can implement, you know, the same sort of 1% or 0.5% contribution and withdrawal fee as we have with the baskets when people contribute or withdraw. So that's one mechanism, is like the on and off ramp and creation of all of these baskets. The second is all the monetization and revenue options that come with a Coin Market Cap or CoinGecko or Dex tools, because the leaderboard is, you know, very gamified. It's got the trending, it's got the categories. Another avenue as well is media based around that, because like I mentioned, any ERC20 can be put into a basket, which means that if you are a provider of tokenized real estate, tokenized real world assets, tokenized commodities, tokenized agriculture, obviously the great part of the BTS and of even on traditional markets, ETFs, once your company is on one of those, then obviously all of that is passive flows into your token or into your share if it's in the original market. And so there's no reason to not try and get people to use it within their baskets. And so it gives us the opportunity for, content media, like how CoinMarketCap has a massive news section. If people have a protocol that provides tokenized real estate, then, by advertising it and using sponsored content and media through Alvara, people are going to want to know what protocols in the property space are legitimate, which ones have like KYC and docs teams, and we need to make sure that we are providing people the right directions to find all of this stuff. And so that's a revenue stream in itself. And as well as that, people can actually sell the rights to their baskets revenue, the 1%, or however much they choose. They can sell the rights to that on our marketplace. So again, that's all the monetization and revenue of a marketplace like OpenSea. And so that's in and of itself like, multiple different businesses which exist independently in the crypto space, that one of them is enough revenue for them to survive, like CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko, NFT marketplaces, etc. Let alone the fact that we have 3 or 4 of those that can all be implemented within the one platform.
Yeah, I totally understand that, mate. And obviously, I've just had a question, and what they're saying is, so basically, in simple terms, people can create their own hedge funds, really, like with their different projects in this basket, and then if people like that basket, then they can jump in as well.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, that's great because some people might create a basket for just RWAs, then like a GameFi basket. Because people do like to have a lot of diversification. So
Yeah.
obviously, if there's a guy who's on the top of the leaderboard and he's always doing well, then obviously it could be beneficial for people that haven't really got a clue what they're doing just to buy into their basket. So I like
Yeah.
this, to be honest.
And it means that they obviously, as the basket creator, earn from that. They can build a whole business around it. And because they have the ERC20 representative token, which, is always equal to their like percentage of the overall asset allocation, it means that they can build a whole protocol around it. As in, they can be as innovative or take it to as many levels as they like. If they've got the money to do so, if they're earning the fees to do so, there is zero reason why they can't build a successful sub-DAO on top of their basket.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. The only one thing that what I think would be a bit hard is obviously, tokens have their own sort of rev share and stuff. If people deposited the tokens into this basket, would they still be eligible for like for example, I'm just gonna like prop chain I'm invested in, I can stake my token and get a certain percent. You wouldn't get that sort of stuff though, would you?
So not with the basic like functionality at present from the factory contract. We've got to like address stuff like this as and when it comes up and begins to be an issue, because the core functionality is to be able to allow for people to manage these in a way that doesn't provide friction, and one of those will be eventually allowing people, but that comes with trade-offs and things to consider, because the reason why people can't stake the tokens within their basket as a manager is that not at any time can they access the Ethereum within that basket. The only time Ethereum can be withdrawn from a basket is just when they actually have the corresponding LP tokens, the ERC20 representations. And that means that it's constantly effectively like a bank vault. Nobody can get into it unless they own the LP tokens. So that also means that the manager can't just dip in and run off with the funds. And so in order to implement staking functionalities within the portfolio and the yield functionalities within the portfolio, we would need to give whoever is managing it access. And obviously
I totally get that. And
so
obviously
it could mean like there could be scenarios where, for example, like the BTS itself is in and of itself, as a token standard, it is open source. So people can code them. And if they chose to, then they could code and amend the BTS specifications in order to allow for access. So if people want to do that, they're free to do so. The good thing about our protocol is it is infrastructure, which means it has unlimited scalability and people can build around it and they can amend stuff and change things. As long as it still conforms to the basket token standard, to the ERC 7621, we will still recognize it and aggregate it with everybody else. It doesn't matter if it's hand coded, it doesn't matter if it's factory minted, because it is a token standard and we are the infrastructure facilitating the mass adoption. It's like with OpenSea, you can mint NFTs on OpenSea, but they pull through every 721 and 1155 regardless. We're the same. So if people want to code something where they do have access to stuff in it, obviously, in order for them to build assets under management with that model, it's very likely that they will have to have, they would have to have undergone KYC or fully doxed, have their own website, But if they can manage to attract people based on that proposition, then they're free to do so. As long as they code it to the right specifications, the 7621, we'll still allow people to withdraw and contribute via our platform. Our job is to just provide the appropriate risk warnings based on what the individual has provided, and if it does have those access, it's like with Dex tools where you've got those like AI audits where they'll flag up like stuff to be considerate of. Ours will be the same as that. So the answer is we can,
That's
but it will come in
clever.
the future.
That's definitely, obviously, I totally get it, because at the end of the day, if you restrict people too much, they won't want to use your protocol. So that's really good that people can actually, for example, projects with contracts have got different things, haven't they? Some people renounce the contract, some people don't, because once you renounce your contracts, then you give away your projects if you want to build, or if you're confident in your projects and you want to renounce, that gives you. I think a lot of people have got meme mentalities, especially these days, and the first thing people ask is LP locked, is contract renounced, blah blah blah. So I totally get what you're saying. But obviously, what you're going to do is you're going to have like a sniffer tool where it shows people the different risks, what are in the contracts. Is that correct, Dom?
Yeah, sorry, I was talking on mute then.
Bless you.
Yeah, so essentially we are there to give people the appropriate risk warnings, let them know where there could be opportunities arising. So for example, it's pretty straightforward in terms of like most people who have common sense like will never have a problem. Like the worst case scenario with having this decentralized infrastructure is the same as Uniswap. Like people can list well, actually, it's not even the same as, it's actually better than Uniswap, because with Uniswap, if you list, so anyone can list a honeypot, and if people buy it, they lose their money. With ours, anyone can mint a BTS, and they can manage it discretionary, so they can decide what they buy and sell. But that in and of itself can't be a honeypot. But if they have full discretionary permissions, and people give them Ethereum, then they could hand code an ERC20 honeypot themselves and use the Ethereum that they are given in order to buy that honeypot and remove the Ethereum that way. However, obviously, our job is to basically let people know when this person has discretionary permissions, and if they haven't provided any information, like connected a Twitter account to give them legitimacy, provided KYC, because at the end of the day, we allow anyone to mint it, but everyone is incentivized if they want to build assets and get people to contribute. The more information they give, the better. Like, we're all for decentralization, I'm all for decentralization, but at the end of the day, you can't have decentralization. You can't expect to be anonymous and also get everybody in the world to trust you and be like, yeah, fair enough. You have to work with what you're given, and it's your choice if you want to be anonymous. But if you are struggling to raise funds because of that, then well, you know why. So people can provide and submit KYC if they so please, and they can create a website, They can show their face and they can say, this is my LinkedIn, this is my Twitter, this is why you should trust me. And of course, those people will almost certainly get an easier job of people contributing because, they actually have something to lose. So our job is just to let people know where it appears that a user isn't being forthcoming with information and what the worst case scenario is if they did turn out to be a bad actor. And as long as we do that, we've fulfilled our end. If people still choose to ignore us by that, that's on them. We can't do anything about that. Just people need to take some responsibility. And if you click a button that says you're about to get punched in the face, if you click this button and you click that button, you can't complain if you get punched in the face. That's just the way it is.
I
Yeah.
totally agree, mate. End of the day. So will these baskets only be tradable on your marketplace as well? You wouldn't be able to trade them anywhere else?
So again, it's because it is completely open source. It's like with anyone will be able to build something around this infrastructure on top of it. We are as decentralized as Uniswap or Curve, which are constantly forked. But at the end of the day, our first mover advantage is akin to, we're like OpenSea releasing the NFT at the same time, because we are not just building the platform to facilitate the mass adoption, we also created the actual ERC 7621. So we're decentralized enough that we're confident that we won't mess it up like OpenSea did in terms of their first mover advantage. But yeah, it is decentralized and the token standard is open source, so anyone will be able to build a BTS marketplace if they so wanted. The difference is obviously, as the first to market champion and creator of the standard, we know it better than anyone else, and therefore we hope that comes with the advantages offered by it. But at the end of the day, we're the foundation looking after the decentralized infrastructure. People can do what they want with it.
Yeah, I totally get that. The one thing I'm going to ask is, because I know I've been in crypto a long time, and I'm not being funny. Things are really getting technical these days with a lot of new protocols and stuff. How are you planning on marketing this to the normies, and because even I'm not that technical minded.
Yeah.
But I understand what you're doing. I really like the idea. So what's the approach you're going to be using to share this idea to the world?
It's certainly, yeah. I mean, I always say this to investors, or like private investors on calls, is that I have a 100% track record where somebody has said to me that they're not interested in Alvara and they haven't let me demo the product to them. I have a 100% track record of me asking them for feedback and receiving feedback on something completely different to Alvara, which wasn't what I sent them at all. But that is due to the fact that it is, not just a DeFi protocol, but a DeFi protocol built around a new token standard that just didn't exist until we created it, and therefore you've got like two levels. The main thing for us is education and understanding, because nobody comes away from like a demo or like a discussion on like the scalability and just how far the web goes for this. It's like a brand new whole asset class in crypto. Like you could see this like listed on CoinMarketCap as its whole section, just BTSs of everyone with links to contribute through them everywhere. Like you could see the BTS being used within like Coinbase or Binance app, where you can with one button click, wrap your whole portfolio, and it goes onto a marketplace where anyone else on the app can contribute and look at it. And it's all done in a decentralized on-chain manner. Nothing changes for you, but if people want to contribute, then you can earn an income. It's like basically being able to stake your whole portfolio, because essentially you wrap it and then other people, you still have access to everything in it. It's still yours, still fully collateralized, but other people can contribute to it. And if they do so, then you're starting to earn a percentage. So it's like being able to stake all of your assets, irrespective of chain, irrespective of whether they have staking. It's just if people like what you have selected and it's done well,
it's like a almost a staking platform within your wallet, completely chain agnostic. And so we're having conversations with like Coinbase custody and trying to have conversations with other exchanges. Obviously, like, listing is like one part of it, and obviously we'll be steering for that with anyone we integrate with. But the actual integrations, like the tech, is like, so can you imagine how much more time you would spend on Coinbase or on Binance if you
Yeah,
could
100%.
actually manage like the thing? And that engagement is like, it's all like very well known in psychology and sales process. Like, the longer you keep someone on your mobile app, the more sales you make. That is just 101. So if you could actually just click of a button, wrap everything, other people can contribute, you earn an income. Like, there is no, the good part about Alvara is like there's no loser, apart from like if people make the wrong picks and selections, like with normal tokens, like every other like crypto protocol. But there's no reason to not use the BTS if you're going to hold it anyway. But allow anybody else to contribute, and if they like what you have, then you can earn from that. Just, it's such a good proposition because we've removed any reason for people to not do it, because there's only benefits. As in, if you're holding it in your wallet anyway, then why not hold it within a BTS in your wallet where other people can also contribute to it if they want? There's no reason not to. You can take certain tokens out, you can sell them, cash out. Like, it has the ability to cause a whole new like paradigm in crypto, because the levels to it and the innovation that can come from it are just unparalleled in terms of, I think of new things all the time because it just goes so far, the web. So yeah, it's sort of like an exponential curve.
Yeah,
Excuse
I
curve
like that.
pun.
I like that. I like how some people like you are people that create, and it's really amazing to listen to. But the one thing I'm going to ask is, once the basket's created, can tokens can't be added to it after that, for example. So,
No, it
like,
can. As in, this is where we've solved the scalability problem. Is a lot of our competitors, they only allow for, you make your choices at the beginning and they stay like that forever. With ours, you can fully, like, there's passive management, which is like, in the normal world you have Vanguard, which have their like trackers that like performs at like the S&P, and then you have active managers where you have someone like Warren Buffett who makes decisions and buys and sells discretionary. And so discretionary means that they're free to chop and change as they so please. And like I say, this is where our competitors handicap themselves, because by not allowing discretionary, they do that because they don't want random people to you know uh, buy like a honeypot and like exploit it that way. Because if you have the full permissions to chop and change whatever you want, then obviously you're giving a lot of trust to that manager. But our job is to basically, let people know where they could be having those problems. But at the end of the day, if people want to still contribute to something where they know that someone hasn't submitted any information and they do have those full powers, then that's on them.
oh,
And so,
sorry, of course, yes. You're like, end of the day, you're more or less letting people invest into the hedge fund then, and then obviously if they're not docs, then they could add any token they wanted into there or take any token out. But if they're docs with a website, and they're speaking to their community and voting about what token they should put in next, is that what you're saying? So more or less, people can really, you could either do it as a community run or you could do it as a business, more or less.
yeah, so you have, as in, like, we also have, so we do have the ability for full discretionary management, but we also have DAO management. So you can, if you want, allow for a vote before you make changes. That's completely down to you. The reason why we've built it for all options is that 99.99% of actual institutions that manage assets do so on a basis where they don't ask permission. And therefore, if we built anything else, then we'd be building for a market that doesn't yet exist or might never exist, rather than building for the market that is there. And so by allowing for full discretion, we basically, we're actually giving an option to traditional investment houses to come on chain and use this. Because if we only allow for governance-based decisions, they're just not going to use it. And this is where our other competitors haven't been able to scale, is that they just don't have the reason for people to use them, because 99.99% of institutions, we've already got institutions lined up to use us, including one that's publicly listed on the Canadian Stock Exchange. So the reason why others haven't had traction is purely down to the fact that they open themselves up to risks from the macro by trying to micromanage, and that just opens them up to regulators. We are purposely decentralized to the point of allowing people to be responsible for their own actions, because it is that decentralized, it's that infrastructure layer, and we don't want to get involved in every decision, because if we do, then it's just opening ourselves up to a whole.
So like, if for example, if we take obviously on your Twitter a while ago, you were saying about a gaming basket that you created with lots of different gaming tokens.
Yep.
What's to stop someone putting a non-gaming token in there? Trying to contribute with a non-gaming token.
Oh well, so contributors don't. So people contribute Ethereum, and the actual swap is fully done within the BTS. So they can't contribute other tokens to that.
Right.
They can only contribute in Ethereum, and they also eventually they'll be able to contribute the tokens that are specified in the basket, but they can't contribute just anything that they want, basically.
Yeah, that makes sense. So do you want to touch on a bit about the actual token itself, what your launch, like the Alvara token?
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, how do people get involved if they want to get involved and stuff like that?
Yeah, so it's launching on Tencent on Monday. The sale goes live, and then 10 days after that, on the 5th, I believe, or it might be the 4th, forgetting the time now, then it will go live and we'll add liquidity and it will become tradable. Follow our socials for updates, jump into the Telegram. It should be, quite the event. Like I said, we've got a lot going on and a lot of very, very good people to come on board and actually start testing and pushing this out. We've been focusing on actual traditional institutions and getting investment from actual funds, because we want this to be adopted by the masses, and that's not just the crypto masses, that includes these traditional funds and people and real crypto asset managers from the get-go will be using Alvara to manage their funds. So it's not just a pipe dream, it's a reality.
Yeah. And what I like about it is, obviously, you've got the background in this sort of, you know what I mean? So I bet you know quite a few people which actually could actually use this anyway, which gives you a massive advantage.
I might be a well-connected Chad, who knows?
Yeah, no, it sounds good, man. So what I'll do, I'll get the link to the 10 sets sale, and obviously once you post about the launch, etc., then I'll post on my main account also.
Nice one. Thanks so much for your time today, guys. And any further questions from the community, just reach out to me or jump into the Telegram, anyone listening, and we're more than happy to answer anything.
I think it sounds, super exciting. And the good thing about it as well is obviously with the leaderboards and stuff, when you've got some killer hedge funds, it's sort of advertising itself. People will want to get into it, and obviously it's on your platform. So
yeah, and the good thing is it is a pure meritocracy, as in, even though we are going after institutions, at the end of the day, the top performers are going to be the ones that show up at the top of the leaderboard, and that might be retail. I mean, it probably will be at the end of the day, because you'd think that actual funds are trying to manage risk a bit better. So the ones that absolute degenerates who are buying like the most risky things will probably end up outperforming a lot of them, but I guess it depends on what time scale. At first, it will definitely be like degen heavy in terms of performance, but you would expect after like 2 years, 3 years, it will start to like weigh out, because obviously those who are being complete degenerates will probably end up blowing up at some stage, you would think. So I'm sure that by like years 3 or 4, like we'll probably start to see more actual institutions at the top, because over time they'll do better, but who knows?
No, it sounds good, mate. It sounds good. The only one question I've got one last question is, can you see how much the basket's contributed by different wallets? For example, because if one wallet owned like 90% of the ETH inside the basket, would that be risky when they take it out?
Well, not necessarily, because the price of the basket isn't it's not the basket isn't priced by the basket price is always the correct price. So it would only be risky if you bought the LP tokens and then like you were trying to speculate by buying the LP tokens for arbitrage, and then somebody withdraws and you're left with but then again, the only LP tokens out of circulation would be from that person who had a large amount. So it shouldn't really. It would be very rare, because the how you know who is inside it is just like looking at the holders of a token, because every single contributor to every BTS has the representative LP tokens for that, which means that you can click onto an ERC20 that says like a main LP. And that will be like how if you add liquidity to Uniswap, you can see the Uniswap V2 holders, because it is itself a token. So you can look at holders on Etherscan and you can look at all of the weightings. And there should never be a time where people withdraw and that's a disadvantage, because when people withdraw, they can only do so by giving their LP tokens back to the BTS, and the BTS then releases the corresponding Ethereum to them. And so those LP tokens cease to exist. They're burnt. They just, they go to, death.
Yeah, I get it now. I get it. End of the day, just because someone takes out there and like ETH it doesn't change the value of the basket, because the token prices of the actual tokens in the basket are what actually determines the price, I guess.
I think you're on mute again, Dom.
Yes, I was.
Yeah, the only time the price will differentiate from like the assets under management is just from people speculating and normal like buy and sell pressure. Obviously, if something only has a small amount of ERC20 liquidity, like, and somebody buys a big amount, then it could spike where the market cap ends up being, let's say, 1 million because of the buy pressure, but the assets in the BTS is 800,000, and therefore somebody can arbitrage that 20% difference. So because of that ability, you would expect that it won't last for a long time. And if you do spot it, then you can make money from it yourself. So there shouldn't really be a scenario where somebody loses out, because if you spot it, it means that you can attempt to profit from that. And if you don't, I'm sure someone else will.
Yeah, it's like what people do with centralized exchanges and dexes, arbitrage, I guess. But the only other question we've got is: will this only ever be for ERC20, or will you be branching out to different networks?
So we want to be on as many. Basically, where the reason why we're launching on ETH is that it's just the core of all DeFi is on Ethereum. In reality, obviously, the gas fees to mint a BTS on Ethereum are large, because you're minting it's like
it's the equivalent gas of minting an NFT and then swapping however many tokens within that basket all in one transaction. So as you can imagine, it's hefty on gas. However, most TVL is on Ethereum, so you've got to go where the liquidity is. But we want to launch on L2s as soon as possible. It's just that if we launch on, like, if we were to launch on BSC, then we can only use the liquidity on BSC. If we launch on Avalanche, we can only launch the liquidity that's on Avalanche. And so we need to have the ETH base because it just tends to be people's base. But we will be adding as many as possible in like cross-chain solutions, and whether that is like, we've even spoken about internally the idea of, there's no reason necessarily that we can't, let's say somebody wants to buy a token that's on BSC and the rest are on Ethereum. Technically there's no reason why we can't use like some sort of oracle in order to buy the token on BSC, lock it away in a effective like vault, whilst it's represented by something else on Ethereum chain. And when they withdraw, it basically releases the BSC version back at the same time. But again, using oracles does make it centralized, and people would need to be aware of what's going on when they're doing that. And yeah, like I say, everything is just a case of like developing for the problems that we have now and prioritizing. So it's all stuff in like in our thoughts and what we're improving. It's just we got to decide what to build and what to fix and what to do first, basically.
You touched on gas there. I'm wondering what is the sort of process, like the gas process when you're trying to create basket tokens.
So it will be paid by the manager, the initial like minting of the basket, and then when people contribute and withdraw, they will pay the gas their end. The only other gas transaction will be rebalancing if people have selected the monthly rebalance option, and that can either be done by the manager at a set period, or if nobody has done it, then the next person to contribute or withdraw will effectively get the option to pay that gas fee. Obviously, they might not want to because it will be much more expensive. It could be more expensive than their deposit or withdrawal if it's like a massive swap. Then, and they're only trying to pull out 0.1 ETH, they'll probably be like, "There's no way I'm paying, an extra 0.1 ETH on top." So that's effectively how it works, just so that it prevents anyone from, basically from a rebalance like never happening. If there is activity, as in withdrawals, deposits, or a manager doing it, then somebody will be there effectively to pay the gas bill, and the next person who does, everyone else will be able to, from then on, just contribute normal gas wise. So the only time where like gas will affect people who aren't, who shouldn't be paying higher gas would be the case where a manager hasn't paid the gas to the rebalance.
Yeah, that makes sense, mate. Honestly, it's really good, and I'm actually looking forward to trying this. All right, we're touched on the hour now, so we're gonna get going in a minute. But just one last question. Someone's asked, are you going to have your own fund where people can invest into your Alvara? Will they have their own funds? So will you be creating a basket yourself where people can jump in, or are you're not planning on doing that?
Well, we have to be careful. We are planning on having them, but we're not going to actually like. There won't be any like fees taken by us, just because of the nature of being and maintaining like the decentralized infrastructure layer. If we do launch baskets, we won't like earn from them, because then we're basically taking that, and it's very centralized in the fact that people will more than likely use our baskets as the protocol, and we have that extra legitimacy, and we don't want other people to feel like they can't create one because we've already made one. So by default, people, if we create too many baskets, then people feel like they can't innovate, and we want other people to be free to do so. So if we do have our own baskets, and we will have some, we're going to try and launch them with partners rather than by ourselves. And if we ever do have any that are solely launched by ourselves, we won't be the ones who are making fees from them. But yeah, so we're very conscious to not do the innovation for people. We want people to come onto the platform, and if they have a good idea, we want them to not have to worry about like, oh well, do they already have this one on there, XYZ. So yeah, I'm not sure if that's a proper answer, but it's the thought process anyway.
No, that makes sense, mate. And obviously, you know, if people would just want to invest in yours, so yeah, that completely makes sense. But honestly, I'm really looking forward to this, and really looking forward to trying the protocol out myself. But if you want to close up now, go. Have you got any other questions?
Was that to the audience or to me?
Well, yeah. If you've got any finishing statement or anything, you know, go ahead, go for it.
I just say, yeah, jump onto our socials. I'm sure they're pinned on our account or somewhere in the space. And any questions that people think of afterwards, just let us know. I'm more than happy to help and chat through anything. And yeah, excited to see you on the platform. And who knows, maybe we'll have the main BTS up there with your selections.
Yeah, but that's a good idea, actually.
Well, you guys will be getting 1% of all contributions and earning on that, and obviously the main token will be a big part of that. So yeah, there's no reason not to.
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually.
No,
Yeah,
man.
I'll speak to you.
Looks awesome. It looks great.
I'll speak to you. I'll speak to you in Telegram, Dom, about that.
Nice one. All right, good stuff. Thanks so much for having me, guys.
Thanks, bro.
Cheers. Thank you.
All right, then. Thanks a lot for everyone that's joined. Obviously, make sure you check out the Alvara Protocol. The IDO is in a few days, so make sure you have a look at that. And the launch, I'm sure he said the 3rd of March. So I'll get a tweet out for them about all the details. But yeah, thanks a lot for everyone that's joined today, and I hope you have a great day.
Thanks, Scott. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.